Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, condemnation over killing of 2-year-old boy in Delta as NDLEA begins investigation. Federal government files 2-count charge of illegal possession of firearms against Emefiele. Women traders in Taraba list challenges in business. On the foreign scene, Sudan government representatives arrive in Jeddah to resume talks with Rapid Support Forces. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for joining. And now the details. Asaba, the Delta State capital, is in shock following the death of a 2-year-old boy, Ivan Omorokobe. He was said to have been hit by a stray bullet by officers of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency during a raid along Okpanam Road in Asaba. The report.
According to eyewitnesses, the boy and his sister, a year and 4 months, were said to be in their mother's shop of the school when the stray bullet hit them in the presence of their mother. They were rushed to the Federal Medical Center, Asaba, when Ivan died and his sister is responding to treatment after surgery in the eye.
They didn't even listen to me, so I now brought out my phone. Now snapped, trying to do a video. Then one guy from the Hills just jumped out, cracked a gun on me, say, "Give me that phone, give me video. Why are you videoing us? Give me that phone." I said, "I will not give you this video. I will not give you this video." That they tell me, say the gun one I shoot for them, don't kill person. Immediately I said that, all of them just hit our car. They were moving on.
They just entered into the shop, made me sit in, then they sat with me. Started telling me what happened at school and all, then I gave them snacks. It wasn't up to 10 minutes. I heard an explosion. Just beside me, I don't know. My son was standing in front of me. I heard an explosion, and before you know it, I saw my son on the floor. Then it seems it is time we were kind of watching that. I quickly held him, put my hands on that particular area. Then I was wondering I didn't just know, I was just shouting, what is this? Where is this from? It's about 4:30 to 5. We heard a very sharp noise outside. So we were wondering where is this kind of noise coming from, but we didn't suspect anything. Though we saw some NDLA guys with their patrol. They were patrolling around looking for some guys to capture. Do you understand? So at some point we had a very disturbing noise from our neighbor upstairs. So she was shouting for help. So we had to rush outside to know why she's shouting. We went outside and she was carrying her 2 babies with her hand. So she was calling for help and trying to call her husband to come. Though before then, all of them were soaked with blood, both the child and the lady.
Meanwhile, the governor of Delta State, through his chief press secretary, Festus Ahon, condemned the incident. He condoles with the family of the victims and called on the NDLEA and the police to investigate circumstances surrounding the death of the young boy and injury to his sister, with a view to bringing the culprits to book and avoiding future occurrence.
In the meantime, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has said that it is investigating the shooting incident. Reacting in a statement on Saturday, the agency's spokesperson, Femi Babafemi, said the NDLEA chairman, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, has set up a panel to investigate the matter. Babafemi added that the agency had spoken with the victim's family, promising Nigerians that the matter would be thoroughly investigated. Now, our reporter in Delta State, Jonathan Awanyai, is joining us to give an update on the situation. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us on the News Hour. Can you please tell us the reaction of the parents of the boy and the situation of the sister in the hospital at the moment?
Okay, at the moment, families, the parents of the victims are deeply traumatized. For now, they have lost one already. and they are more concerned about the life of the other one. When we spoke with them earlier today, they said they are not quite sure what step to take, and they will have to wait on the recovery of their second child for the next step.
Okay, are the parents contemplating any legal action so far that you know?
Okay, for now, I do not think so, because a visit to the hospital, the Federal Medical Center, where they took their daughter to, it is quite a bad thing, and they said they cannot decide on what step to take until they leave the hospital. Their daughter has just gone through a surgery and is responding to treatment at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, on the updates there.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right. The federal government has filed a 2-count charge of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition against suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele before the Federal High Court in Lagos. The government in the charge sheet accused Emefiele of possessing a single-barrel shotgun without license. The government maintained that the offense is contrary to Section 4 of the Firearms Act, Cap F28 laws of the Federation 2004, and punishable under Section 27(1)(b) of the same Act. In the second count, the suspended CBN governor was accused of having in his possession 123 rounds of live ammunition without license, which is contrary to Section 8 of the Firearms Act and punishable under Section 27(1)(b) and 2 of the same Act. The case is yet to be assigned to a judge. Emefiele has been in custody of the DSS since June 10. The spokesman for the DSS, Peter Afunaya, had said his detention was for investigative reasons. And on security matters, troops of Operation Hadarin Daji on Friday evening rescued 9 kidnapped victims in Bukuyum local government area of Zamfara State. The troops, while carrying out routine patrol and providing protection for farmers, acted on a distress call against armed bandits at Mailere village under Gwashi district in the Bukuyum area. The troops mobilized swiftly to the scene of the incident, and contact was made with the armed bandits at the entrance of the community. However, the troops engaged the armed bandits with superior firepower, forcing them to flee and abandon the 9 abductees. The victims were said to have been successfully reunited with their families. Now, Controller of Customs in Kwara State, Kehinde Ilesami, says that fuel subsidy removal has helped reduce smuggling of petroleum products outside the country through the borders in the state. He said fighting and pursuing the smugglers, especially along bushes, is not a main task. The Customs Controller urged residents in border areas not to hoard information or collaborate with economic saboteurs of the country through smuggling.
Economically, when you look at the price per liter was 185 naira, and the price in Kwara, Ilorin specifically, has gone to about 500, between average of 515 and 513. The propensity capacity of individual to purchase volume of PMS has been reduced. It is not easy to completely eradicate smuggling. We can only mitigate it to the BRS minimum. And let me quickly say that even the federal government, if that had been possible, I wouldn't have been here. While some of them will be on motorcycles like this, we are inside our vehicle. Some can decide to be on motorcycle with arms and ammunition. I pray you will not lose your children. Amen. So please, whatever you can do to let people understand that even this one that we have been able to seize is at the jeopardy of our lives.
To election matters, the Labour Party presidential candidate in the February 25 presidential election, Peter Obi, says he did not grant an interview suggesting that he would run for the office of the president in 2027. Obi said it is regrettable that the nation's politics have dropped to an abysmal level where manipulation of media space is now a trade. However, the LP presidential candidate insisted he would continue to speak on topical national issues via recognized news and media outfits. In a tweet on his verified Twitter handle on Saturday, the former Anambra State governor maintained that he will not disturb himself with cheap, destructive trolls, saying his focus and that of the obedient movement will not derail from the original mission of creating a new Nigeria. Adamawa State Governorship Election Tribunal has fixed July 21st for the final judgment in a petition filed by the SDP governorship candidate Umar Ardo seeking for cancellation of the election. At the resumed hearing in Yola on Friday, the tribunal listened to arguments of legal counsel to parties in the matter. Salis Lawan reports.
Ardo approached the tribunal seeking for the cancellation of the 2023 gubernatorial polls based on a number of issues, including alleged violation and substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act during governorship election in the state. The SDP candidate asked the tribunal to order INEC to conduct fresh polls in Adamawa due to alleged violation of its electoral guidelines and principles laid down in the Electoral Act 2022. Counsel to the INEC, Abdullahi Ibrahim, son, urges the court to discountenance the positions of the petitioners on the grounds that the electoral body has conducted a credible polls.
INEC on its own part, the chairman directed should be here and he sent somebody. And they said in the absence of their witness, they want to close their case. So be it. And we don't have any objection to whatever they want to do. So that is what has happened. They have closed their case. And on our own part, because they didn't call that, we don't feel there is any need for us to call any evidence. So we have also closed our case for us to address the court on points of law. Simple.
But the lead counsel to Dr. Umar Ardo, Sylvester Ihunobe, son, argued that incontrovertible and documented evidences showed that INEC failed to carry out credible election, including suspending the 18th March polls and the legal actions it took against the suspended commissioner.
A subpoena is a court order where we leave that to the courts. But importantly, the case of the petitioners is actually proved from the document of INEC itself. And you can see that the court admitted that document is uncontroverted. So we closed our case on that ground, and they asked them to respond. As it is, they said they are not objecting, and they have no witness or document to tender. So they led no evidence. That's why the court now adjourned.
The tribunal judge, Justice Theodora Obi Oluru, adjourned the case to July 21st for final judgment in the case. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
To complement the effort of men, some women in Taraba engaged in different kinds of business. A visit to Malam Audu Market in Yoro local government area of the state shows that most of the business operators are female, selling different types of farm produce that was harvested recently. The report.
Malam Audu is one of the satellite markets located in Yoro local government where 90% of the traders are women. The market is recognized not just by the people of Yoro local government, but people from Jalingo visit the market on a daily basis due to its cheaper prices of goods and also for the reason everything there is fresh from the farm. Naomi Cindy sells local handmade brooms, while Wasila Adamu sells newly harvested ground nuts. Zainab Abdul Mumini sells ground nuts, and the trio said that they're doing the business to reduce a burden upon their husbands by paying school fees for their children and other necessities as their husbands are not capable to take all their responsibilities.
This is a broom, and it is used in sweeping the house. It's gotten from bamboo trees. We go far to the thick forest to get them, and we go through lots of dangers like snake bites. We are just here struggling to survive, As for me, I farm lots of crops to make ends meet. I farm yams, groundnuts, and lots more. We are praying to God and also appealing to the government for things to get better and cheaper for us. Now, we have started harvesting new farm produce. We pray things will get better and cheaper. I go to different marketplaces to buy farm produce. Fresh groundnut is out in the market and we buy at 650 naira to 700 naira, pending from who you buy from. And we are hoping that the price will go down soon. We are appealing to the government to please make things easy for the masses so we can live an affordable life.
According to Mary Ibrahim and Danjuma Santi, who are cassava and cassava flour traders, the major changes they encountered in the market is the issue of transporting their goods to the market due to the absence of a bridge that connects the farm to the market, and they have no place to stay during the rains.
I sell cassava tubers in this market. Sincerely speaking, this year has been bounty harvest because we make cassava flour and gari from it. We thank God our harvest this year is quite better than that of last year. The only access road that was repaired has started to go bad, so we are appealing to the government to do something about it.
A tricycle operator hired to bring goods to the market, Robert Nuhu, said that most of the time, some parts of the goods get lost in the process of passing through the uncompleted bridge along the road.
I am the transporter who delivers brooms and goods to these women in the market. Honestly, where they go source for these brooms is very dangerous place and a stressful task. The road to the forest is very stony and I usually go with my motorbike to keep up the goods. We are appealing to the government to please come to our aid by repairing the roads.
The traders appeal to relevant authorities to do the needful for them to expand their businesses.
As President Bola Ahmed Tinubu requests legislative approval to distribute palliatives to Nigerians, some residents of Makurdi say improving power supply alone will encourage entrepreneurship. The residents are worried that the poor supply of electricity has worsened the economic situation in the state. Jimmy Azande reports.
Small-scale business owners in Makurdi say unstable power supply is an impediment to their businesses through bogus billing and epileptic supply.
In terms of palliatives, the way I've seen it, I believe that as a businessman, the federal government should be able to put the money meant for palliatives in trying to strengthen the way that light will be supplied in Nigeria. Because if the power companies are generating power in such a way that small business can be able to work on their own and be able to carry out their businesses efficiently, I believe that will boost small, medium scale enterprises.
Because of the hike in diesel and the hike in fuel, that really cause a lot of harm to our business. We want to make a lot of profit where we do. You can use maybe a day we spend up to 10,000 for diesel. Like talks about a job that costs about 3,000. I was doing more than 10,000 on diesel. That really causes a lot of harm to our business. We can't afford to run business with diesel. It doesn't pay at all.
The residents urged President Tinubu to direct his palliative to infrastructure like power supply, as they said this will serve better than sharing stipends to the public.
In a country where electricity has been epileptic for so many years, and with billions of naira spent. I remember the Obasanjo government spent a lot of billions of naira on electricity, but today is still epileptic. So it's a good thing for the president to pick it as one of the issues he wants to tackle. And it's also a good thing that the purported the news that they were going to increase the tariff 1st July was shelved aside, so that the burden on the average people would reduce.
I know that power is one of the major requirement for survival of businesses. And if power alone
is taken care of in this country, you see a lot of small and medium-scale enterprises springing up and sustaining themselves.
While a positive response is awaited from the electricity bill that was signed into law recently, allowing states to generate and distribute power, businesses are falling up due to inability to cope with the lack or high charges of electricity supply in the state. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Kano State government has dismissed as false reports insinuating that it had criticized President Bola Tinubu's 500 billion naira palliative sharing formula. The state deputy governor, Aminu Abdusalam Gwarzo, gave the clarification in a statement by his press secretary, Ibrahim Shuaibu, on Saturday in Kano. He said that the reports falsely claimed that the deputy governor criticized the Tinubu-led administration for the allocation of 500 billion naira to support small and medium-scale enterprises through the Bank of Industry. The statement further quoted Gwarzo as reaffirming government commitment under the leadership of Governor Abba Kabir to remain steadfast towards supporting President Tinubu's vision for a peaceful and united Nigeria. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at attraction of motor mechanics to car Indomie. Details and more after the break.
That's great.
It was never a consensus. We did all our best. You see, in politics, you give your contribution to the best of your ability.
If you want, I'll forward to you this statement. You go to this bank and verify.
But there are people who say not spending money is not a virtue in
coming.
itself.
Let me finish.
Because there's so much to be done.
Let me finish. Now, you don't allow me to explain myself.
The recent development shows abductions are now a factor of informants embedded in community.
It's not about the people of Katsina to say that, no, during my administration I was able to stop insecurity. No. Is about collective responsibility for all of us.
And what we should ask ourselves is not what has been seen, is the life better? Are there more people who are unemployed who are not become employed? Is the level of corruption has gone down? Is there inclusion? All those issues.
We're actually a gas country with associated oil. Our focus has always been on oil, that we have never paid significant attention to gas.
To do it effectively, we need to have honest conversation with ourselves. Government needs to come down from its higher horse and communicate with the people and build trust.
There must be a solution. We cannot continue this way. They must come back to the table and agree. So whose child will do deny education? All these children that sit for jam, they want to go to higher institutions.
But just a short while ago you were saying that why bring 10 children when you cannot cater for them? So why bring more universities when you cannot cater for the existing?
If you are just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. Now a recap of our top stories.
For me, I have my 8 years and I think I have enough.
A challenge to serve in line with the oath I have taken today.
Commander of the Board of Directors of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation and
an end to poverty.
Bauchi State residents are appealing to stakeholders in the oil sector to consider the plight of
killing in Maraban Jama'a Okaru in Plateau State.
I'm confident
I have what it takes to turn Nigeria around.
Of FCT residents on the need to give Gen Z a proper orientation.
When a country organizes a credible election, both the government and the opposition will elect.
Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at the top stories. Condemnation over killing of 2-year-old boy in Delta as NDLEA begins investigation. Federal government files 2-count charge of illegal possession of firearms against Emefiele. In other news, as part of efforts aimed at promoting awareness on climate change in the country, stakeholders on climate change met on action points from government at all levels and residents. The stakeholders stressed the need for a knowledge-based approach to environmental protection. Habibat Ajayi reports.
In spite of the awareness of climate change in Nigeria, there are still high records of variable rainfall, flooding and increase in temperature across the country. This global warming is also said to contribute to disease outbreak. To counter the negative consequences of global warming, the federal government are urged to equip teachers with necessary trainings on ways to pass the knowledge on the students.
The issue is simple. We don't have an educational architecture that helps people develop self-initiatives or self-ability to solve problems. We are basically people of academic, learned individuals, fast in ability to read, write, but not competent when it comes to skill-based engagement. And that's where the problem lies.
Teachers need training, lots and lots of training, because this is a wave, and it's expected that they get the skills, the right skills to impact to those children. Also, we need funds to make sure that these teachers are well trained and equipped in the skills.
However, climate change knowledge is said to be taken to formal and informal sector for maximum caution against the menace.
To foster a robust conversation towards enlisting climate education in the COP28 agenda for Nigeria. The reason that we had thought of this is because we believe that we don't want to use one size fits all. There might be different interest groups that have different inputs to make into how the education conversation should go in COP, coming from both the formal sector and the informal sector. Because the way we thought of this is that climate education should not be limited to schools in quote. It should really cover everything formal sector and everything informal.
The legislature are also urged to come up with sustainable climate education laws and policies, exploring its potential to drive transformative change.
Climate change should be like a standalone subject. There should be a law mandating that climate change should be a subject that should be studied in school or in schools as well. Must, not leaving it to just if you want to, right now it's as if you want, you can do. And also if you check the Climate Change Act, even though there's space, there's provision for climate education, but it's not well spelled out. So maybe that law can help us break down how this education should go. Maybe there's need for us to make a new law that will mandate the enforcement of laws that already exist.
All hands must be on deck to bridge gaps and enhance quality of climate education in schools. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV, Abuja.
In a similar vein, National Agency for Great Green Wall has launched a technology that will assist tree seedlings to hold water moisture for the period of 1 year to curb desert encroachment. The technology was introduced to encourage and promote tree planting campaign, especially in arid and semi-arid regions. Abdullahi Amadi reports.
150 kilometers shelter belts, 150 kilometers woodlots, and 200 hectares orchards were developed across the frontline local governments in Katsina State. The National Agency for Great Green Wall is planting trees in Zango, Daura, Sandamu, Bauri, Mayadwa, Kaita, Jibia, Kusada, Katsina, Rimi, and Batagara local government areas.
In large-scale restoration, we are able to cover about 115 hectares of land. That is a degraded land. We reach in there, we recover it, we reclaim it back to where it is before. So apart from that, there is what we call community activities. When we go into the community, we provide them with things that will help them in alleviating away poverty.
But you cannot live in an environment that cannot sustain you. But in another way, we came amid the environment. So our own is to sustain the environment.
The agency had demonstrated the new technology at Katsina Emas Palace, schools, and other public places to mitigate desertification. At Nagogo Primary School, some economic trees were planted and trained pupils on how to plant and nurture tree seedlings to maturity. Great Green Wall is also concerned about inadequate sensitization among Katsina residents on the importance of planting trees.
That is how you're going to make it. This is the section where excess water will be dripping out. This is a cover of the reservoir. Once you put this, then you pour water. This water that we put in here, next year, God's willing, if we're here, you see the water in here. Whether it rains or not, that is how the system is. So once you put this, you don't need to add any water, you don't need to water it, you don't need to do anything.
Experts suggest massive tree planting campaign to mitigate environmental degradation and promote afforestation in Nigeria. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Around security matters, the operatives of the Nigerian Police Force in Nasarawa State have arrested 30 suspected criminals for allegedly committing various crimes ranging from kidnapping and possession of dangerous weapons and ammunition in the state. The State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Ramhan Nansel, paraded the suspects in Lafia, the state capital, on Friday before journalists. Omar Mohammed sent in the report.
Parading the suspects, DSP Nansel announced the arrest of a suspected kidnapper, Zakari Umar, who has been on the watch list of the police command. He was arrested after painstaking efforts, according to the police spokesperson.
Also known as Denwudin, a male 28 years old of Mahanga village, Awe, was arrested in connection to the offense. Investigation revealed that the suspect called his victim on phone, threatening him.
The kidnapped victim says the suspect called him on phone and threatened him. Due to the fear of being kidnapped, the victim was coerced into paying the sum of 1,150,000 naira to the suspect as ransom.
I saw about 15 people sleeping in one room. That is in the room and parlor. We are not kidding us. We were kept here for almost 2 weeks without food. Not even water to drink.
Upon his arrest, the suspect led police operatives to a farmland where the sum of 750,000 naira was recovered. Other suspects arrested for committing various crimes from kidnapping and armed robbery have confessed to their crimes. The police say all suspects will be charged after completion of ongoing investigations.
Similarly, police in Katsina State have arrested a suspected fraudster who specializes in defrauding unsuspecting members of the public using counterfeit currency. Spokesman of the command, ASP Abubakar Sadiq, said Nemesis caught up with the suspect Bishir Umar, a 28-year-old alias Dang Zamfara of Magamar Jibia local government area, when the command received intelligence on his illegal activities and location. The Katsina police spokesman said that the suspect in the course of the investigation confessed to the commission of the offense. In a related development, ASP Sadiq said that on 6th of July, the command arrested one Al-Qasim Muhammad, 43, of Sharada, Phase 3, Kano State, also a suspected notorious fraudster who specializes in defrauding unsuspecting members of the public by way of fake bank transfers. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Jigawa State Command, has arrested 2 suspects over possession of counterfeit United States dollars worth 30,900. Spokesman of the command, CSC Adamu, stated that while parading the suspect on Friday at the command's headquarters, Dutse, the state capital, the suspects are 25 years old Aladi Umar of Teshar Musawa, Zaria local government area of Kaduna State, and 35-year-old Abdurrahman Khalid. The case of counterfeiting and criminal conspiracy is contrary to sections 369 and 96 of the Constitution and punishable under section 329 and 97 of the Penal Code law of Jigawa State. The Nigerian Air Force on Saturday flew out of service the immediate past Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao. Amao was replaced as Chief of Air Staff by President Bola Tinubu on June 19th, a development that led to his immediate retirement from service. In his valedictory speech, Amao expressed gratitude to God as well as the officers and men of the Air Force for a successful service to the nation. He said that the event marked a significant milestone in his career, which was fulfilling and full of accomplishments, culminating to his appointment as the 21st Chief of Air Staff. Amao also commended the efforts of his predecessors for laying the foundation upon which he built on to achieve the successes recorded during his tenure as the Chief of Air Staff. He also thanked the immediate past service chiefs for the enhanced synergy that helped them achieve results, urging his successor to tour the same path for the greater good of the nation. Vehicles are subject to wear and tear due to constant use, and this is where motor technicians or mechanics come in. It is sometimes risky to leave vehicles with these technicians without supervision because often they end up worse than when they are taken for repairs. Jimmy Azande reports from Makurdi.
Car owners in Makurdi told Trust TV that it is not safe to leave one's car with a mechanic unattended to. The reason is that most technicians sometimes remove vehicle parts, especially the catalytic converter, also known as Indomie.
That is why sometimes it is good for you to sit there and monitor what they are doing, because sometimes they may be going where they don't supposed to go. So you are the one to correct them. Yes, in the places that there are some mechanics that they are not mechanics, they are criminals. In the sense that if you give them your car, sometimes we have several cases of catalysts being removed in the car. They will leave what you give them and do. Sometimes you will not discover that your car does not have catalyst again because they vandalize it. Some mechanics on their part said the trend of stealing from cars is a new development.
It's not a good thing for a mechanic to or partner to do that because it damages somebody's image and somebody's workshop. If they know you doing that kind of a thing, it's not a good thing. People will run away from you. Well, people accuse mechanics of removing and do me, but sometimes when they go forward, they find out it did not remove from here. Sometimes they remove from here.
We don't know what they used to do with it. They only need it. So we don't know actually what they used to do with it.
On why the catalysts are targeted by some mechanics, car importers and car dealers, they said it contains elements that are valuable and expensive.
A major function of the catalytic converter is to control emissions. The emissions of gases from the exhaust of the vehicle. Why there's so much interest in this catalytic converter by some criminals to steal it, and it's because there are some precious metals. It contains some precious metals like palladium, radium, and platinum. But those metals are in trace amounts. you need to steal the catalytic converter from several vehicles before you can get a substantial amount of those precious metals that can yield you a fortune.
Unlike other car components like battery, most people did not notice when this catalytic converter or indomie is removed from their car. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
The International Labour Organization, ILO, says it is committed to supporting the Tinubu-led administration to create over 2 million digital jobs to reduce unemployment. Vanessa Pala, ILO's country director for Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone, spoke during the commemoration of this year's World Youth Skill Day in Abuja, themed Empowering Youth for a Sustainable Future, Building Skills for Tomorrow. Pala said that the digital economy has become an integral part of Nigeria's daily lives, thereby shaping the industrial sector and creating more opportunities. She said Nigeria has a youthful population that requires the right skills to strive in the digital world. Also speaking, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, represented by Nko Eswambana, Permanent Secretary, Political and Economic Affairs Office, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, said that the potential of young people should be harnessed to catalyze transformation. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll bring you much more details on our business and sports. Join us again. Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Let's now take a look at business updates with Chiamaka Mwafo.
The federal government has called on the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, FRC, to ensure prompt remittance of revenue to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, CRF, by all ministries, departments, and agencies. Zaccheaus Adedeji, special advisor on revenue to President Bola Tinubu, made the call during a visit to the chairman, FRC, Victor Morocco, on Saturday in Abuja. Adedeji said that the call was in line with President Tinubu's quest to improve the revenue generation architecture of the country. He said that the current administration was determined to ensure all revenues of the federal government were properly articulated and remitted timely into the CRF. He stressed the need for interagency cooperation amongst all government-owned enterprises to ensure optimal results in revenue remittance. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, on Friday revised the cash reserve ratio, CRR, of merchant banks to 10% from 32.5%. Director of Banking Supervision, CBN, Haruna Mustafa, disclosed this in a letter to all merchant banks dated July 14, 2023. The new fresh quote reverses significantly the increase in the CRR by the Monetary Policy Committee last September from 27.5% to 32.5% to tame inflationary pressure. The CRR is the share of a bank's total customer deposit that must be deposited with the central bank. And finally, the federal government borrowing of 1.83 trillion naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria through Ways and Means advances in the first quarter of 2023 has pushed its debt from the CBN to 25.36 trillion naira in March 2023 from 23.53 trillion naira in December 2022. The figure was according to the provisional data from the Apex Bank through its quarterly statistical bulletin. The Ways and Means advances is a loan facility used by the central bank to finance the government in periods of temporary budget shortfalls subject to limits imposed by law. According to Section 38 of the CBN Act 2007, the Apex Bank may grant temporary advances to the federal government with regard to temporary deficiency of budget revenue at such rate of interest as the bank may determine. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Mwafo.
President Bola Tinubu on Saturday called on African leaders to respect democracy, rule of law, and ensure political stability. He also called on the United Nations to take firm stance against military coups. The president spoke in Nairobi, Kenya, at a high-level event organized by the United Nations Development Programme on the margins of 5th Mid-Year African Union Coordination Meeting. Tinubu also urged African military institutions and states to recognize and respect the need for democratic renewal. The Nigerian leader, who is also the chairperson of ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, said coup d'etats should be discouraged in the continent, especially in the face of challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, insecurity, and climate change. On the foreign scene, Sudanese representatives have arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia's commercial city, to resume talks with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, Sudanese government sources told Reuters on Saturday. Previous talks in Jeddah, facilitated by Saudi Arabia and the United States, were suspended by both countries in early June after numerous ceasefire violations. Now the US and Saudi Arabia are yet to confirm the resumption of talks between Sudan's warring factions. Separately, a mediation attempt launched by Egypt began on Thursday, an effort welcomed by both the Sudanese army, which has close ties to Egypt, and the RSF. At least 22 people have died and 14 more are missing after heavy rain caused flooding and landslides in South Korea, officials said on Saturday, with thousands more ordered to evacuate their homes. South Korea is at the peak of its summer monsoon season, and there has been heavy rainfall for the last 3 days, triggering widespread flooding and landslides and causing a major dam to overflow. The Interior Ministry reported that 22 people had been killed and another 14 were missing in the heavy downpours, mostly buried by landslides or after falling into a flooded reservoir. South Korea's Yonhap news agency had earlier reported 24 deaths, citing local disaster relief officials. The Interior Ministry said that more than 6,400 residents in the central county of Gyeosan were ordered to evacuate early Saturday as the Gyeosan Dam began overflowing and submerging low-lying villages nearby. And in sports news, Nigerian goalkeeper Maduka Okoye is set to leave Skybet Championship club Watford this summer. Okoye arrived at the Vicarage Road from Dutch club Sparta Rotterdam a year ago in a deal worth 3.5 million euros. The 23-year-old has, however, failed to earn a starting spot in the team. The shot-stopper made 2 appearances for the Hornets last season. Okoye is now third-choice goalkeeper at Watford, with Daniel Bachman and Ben Hammer ahead of him in the pecking order. He was not included in Watford's squad for recent pre-season friendlies against Bournemouth, Wood and Arsenal. According to the Watford Observer, the London club is prepared to allow the goalie leave on a permanent transfer this summer. Still on sports news, Arsenal have signed England midfielder Declan Rice from West Ham for a club record fee of £105 million. The deal eclipses the £72 million Arsenal paid for Nicolas Pepe from Lille in 2019, while it is also a record transfer fee between 2 British clubs. But Rice's signing is just short of the British record transfer fee, with Chelsea paying £106.8 million for midfielder Enzo Fernandez from Benfica in January. Rice signed a 5-year deal at Arsenal, which runs until 2028, with the option of a further year, and the midfielder will wear the number 41 shirt. Now, his move to the Emirates Stadium brings a decade-long spell at West Ham to an end, rising from a youth team player to club captain. He made 245 appearances for the Hammers after making his first team debut in 2017. His final game for the club saw him lift West Ham's first trophy in 43 years after they won the Europa Conference League final. Now, before we leave, let's take a look at our feature for the day. Nigerian environmental researcher Mayokun Iyamolere weaves through the muddy streets of Ayetoro, a low-lying coastal community in southern Nigeria. He cannot help but feel a sense of urgency based on the data he's been studying that indicates how quickly the Atlantic Ocean has advanced. Take a look.
In my studies, I used indicators to assess the vulnerability level of the community, and some of them are the shoreline change. For the shoreline change, I found out that as of 2018-2019, there was 64 millimeter per year advancement of the ocean.
It has been massive, unlike before. So in the last 10 years, we have experienced this daily loss of buildings. Unlike before, like in a year, we hardly we can see 2 buildings. But now, in the last 10 years, it has been on daily basis, monthly basis, or yearly basis. And we lost like, let's say, 10, 15 buildings in a year.
It's not everybody that has the
the capacity to withstand the trauma and the shame of having to squat in your father's land. A lot of people had actually relocated to other communities. Like boats can no longer berth here, because the more they berth, the more their boat will begin to eat away the soil. It's like the boats are supporting the ocean, and that is the mainstay of the economy of this place. So a lot of able-bodied men, business people who have boats and all that, they have to relocate.
In 2023, I carried out an analysis again to observe the area and found that Ayutthaya is now below sea level. That's the elevation is now below sea level, and that is why it is being hit from the ocean from nearly all parts of the community. So the community is directly at the mercy of the ocean because of the very low elevation which the community now has.
And that wraps up the news hour for tonight. In case you've missed, you can always catch up across all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.